Stratford, Ontario. Population 30,886. Settled by Europeans in 1832, named after the Stratford-upon-Avon in England. And today, home to the Stratford Festival, a theatre that is known worldwide and recognized for its productions in Shakespeare, musicals, and contemporary theatre. The Stratford Festival is the insanely ambitious and realized dream of Tom Patterson, who wanted a way to revitalize his city after the shutdown of the railway. He wanted to build a world-class institution in a small, rural, southern Ontario town. His dream took time and a lot of hard work, but now Stratford is a major tourist destination. And the festival put Stratford on the map as having one of the most prestigious theatres in the world. Aside from the Stratford Festival, Stratford's now home to a number of other tourist attractions, such as Stratford Summer Music, a music festival that has artists from all over the world come and play. Stratford is also known for its culinary scene and having the Stratford Chef School. Bed and breakfasts, food, theatre, art, all placed along the picturesque Avon River, surrounded by Gothic Revival architecture. It's not hard to see the reasons why Stratford is one of Canada's main tourist destinations. But Stratford's beginnings weren't necessarily indicative of the artistic and theatrical presence that it has nowadays. Originally settled as a railway junction, Stratford was carving its name out initially as one of the biggest industrial hubs in Canada, one of the major facets of Stratford's industrial history, including furniture manufacturing. At one point, Stratford furniture was sold all over Canada. Until in 1933, there was the famous furniture workers' strike. Having grown up in Stratford, I have a special tie to the place. My parents were both employed at the festival as actors, and I grew up around a lot of art as a child, so it's always been a pretty important part of my life. I'm interested in the opinions of factory workers on Stratford and art. My intentions with this project are really multifaceted and fluid, and the conversations that you're going to see with the workers that I interviewed sort of reflect that. I was more so concerned with just opening the avenue for conversation so that we might be able to figure out how or why people feel alienated in certain cultural institutions. In my class, we read some work by Pierre Bourdieu, and I was interested in his idea of habitus and cultural capital and the ways that that could perhaps explain some of the divide that I've noticed in my own hometown, the divide that is between the artistic community and the industrial community. To very quickly summarize those views, habitus, Bourdieu says, is the sum of the knowledge and the skills that one has that makes them able to occupy a certain field. However, Bourdieu is careful to specify that it's not just skills that are required to make you occupy a field successfully. It's also a matter of knowing the right people, having access to the space. There's a lot of societal intersections that come into making you able to successfully fulfill a certain role. There's also his important idea of cultural capital. Cultural capital is kind of a way that we can explain why some people are able to endorse certain things to us. It includes things like education, class, style, taste. All of these aspects play into cultural capital, and they also tie into a person's habitus. So for instance, an artist's habitus, while it is very important to have creativity and ability, must also include having a place to work, having access to artistic materials, having somebody endorse your work, eventually coming to know curators, gallerists, your engagement with the patrons. It all ties into it. And ultimately all ties into your success in the art world. Some of the things I'm interested in discussing are the responsibilities of institutions within communities, how an institution might be able to better fulfill the needs of the locals. And I'm also interested in exploring whether or not it has a duty to do so at all. So there's one avenue that I'm interested in exploring it. Now, in doing this project, I'm not intending to call any institution classist or suggest that anybody's not intelligent enough to enjoy art at all. What I really want to do is try and find a way to mediate an articulate conversation between the two groups and see if there can be some way that we can come to understand each other a little better. Because I personally believe that art can have the ability, the powerful ability, to transform people's lives for the better. But I also understand that there could be a myriad of things that might be in the way of somebody engaging in that art, even if it is in your own backyard, in your community. This project kind of branches off into a couple different directions, and I hope it doesn't just stop with the submission of it. I'm interested to see what kind of form it can take on. My curiosity for initially starting this project and choosing to interview factory workers and industrial workers was because I was curious to hear their opinions on some of the things I'd been learning. I mean, I'd been looking at some pretty crazy contemporary art all semester and reading some really interesting things, and I felt like it would be good to share that stuff. I guess I wanted to ask a demographic whose opinions aren't often considered when thinking about art what their opinion on art was. And I ultimately chose Stratford because I do have ties there and I felt comfortable, and I do have investments in that community beyond just this project. I apologize in advance for the shaky camera and sometimes the quality of the audio. And at one point, I actually switched cameras from this one to my iPhone because my battery died. So, yeah. And I consider this to be an ongoing project. Maybe the answer is just as multifaceted as the question, I don't know. Maybe one of the answers could be some kind of public art installation. I think public art can really create a sense of solidarity amongst people and can make a demographic feel like they're included, and it can also serve as a marker and a landmark, and I think it can be a really helpful thing. So maybe that would be an avenue that we could explore, that I could explore with the help of grant writers. I don't know, but anyway, that's all. Enjoy.